Hello everyone, it's Ben from GamePlayersRUs. It's been a really long time since my last episode. I said a little bit of why in my last one, which I think was in November of last year. But anyway, I finally have enough to talk about in this video to do another one. So I'm going to talk about why I haven't had too many of my own game finds videos later, but first let's get into the games I have picked up lately. First off, I got myself a second classic style controller for the Wii U, so now I have two of these, and that's always handy. There are quite a few games that support it, and I also finally bought myself a second Wii Motion Plus compatible controller. The first one I have actually has one of those attachments on it, so that sort of counts, sort of doesn't. This one is the first controller I've had where it's built in, and it's the Luigi controller. I also like this sleeve they put on it too. It's nice and green. The controller's actually blue on the back, probably because Luigi's pants are blue. Yeah, I like the look of this controller. It's just like a normal Wii controller. So there's that, and then I've only picked up 2 actual video games since my last video. So just to rush through these, first one I picked up was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I know the Tony Hawk games aren't that well known for being great. They started publishing them way too much after a while, but this was back when the series was actually good. In fact, when I was talking to the clerk guy at the Game Exchange, he was saying he thought this was the best one, and this was the one I had the most memories of playing. So this was $5. It's okay for a game I have fond memories of. Plus, if I remember correctly, this is the one where you play as Spider-Man. And the other game I picked up, this might make you laugh. The Land Before Time: Return to the Great Valley on the PlayStation 1. As a kid, I actually liked these movies quite a bit, even the sequels. Now I know they're terrible, and yet I've still watched all 13 of the movies. Anyway, there's this, and I actually haven't played this yet. I'm kind of hesitant to. It's either going to be hilariously bad or horrifyingly bad. You can kind of tell that just by looking at the back. The graphics are horrendous. Yeah, it's complete. Tony Hawk 3, it just has the game and it's not even a regular case, but it's not like it's going to be worth much anyway. So that's all for the video game finds I've had lately. And Josh has talked about this a little bit in his videos. It's a really rough market out there right now. Value Village their prices are frequently worse than regular game stores. I mean, like Wii games, any last gen games are always, I think, $15 if I remember correctly, when a lot of games these days are in actual game stores are 10 or less in bargain bins. And there's not that much to find there either, because there's so many people that buy it at those prices anyway, because they don't know any better. It's sad, really. So, match that with the fact that I can hardly even get over there lately. I basically share a car with my brother, and he's in college right now, so he needs it a lot more than I do, and both Value Village and Goodwill are on the other end of town from where I am. There's nothing in this area for that. So I really do need the car to get there, and he needs the car more than I do. Most of the time when I can get the car, I need it for work. So yeah, I can't get out there very often, and that's a major reason why I'm not really finding much lately. It also affects my ability to use Kijiji. So the only real game stores I can get to are the local EB Games, and while yes, they sometimes do have some decent deals and sales, after a while their stock kind of remains the same all the time. And that's the difficult thing for me, and eBay's not that reliable with game deals, and you usually just hunt for specific things that you're looking for there, and not just anything, because of the shipping costs as well. So that's the reason I haven't had too many videos lately, is because I've had a lot of trouble finding anything lately. The good news is they are building a value village really close to my home. They just announced the opening date, March 12th, so it opens right around the time when I'll start being able to bike again. It's basically a 10-minute bike ride from my house, so car will not be an issue anymore once that opens. Hopefully that means I'll be able to find more stuff coming March, but with the dire state of Value Village lately, at least in Kitchener, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'll just wait and see. Hopefully it'll help improve my game finding. I can't guarantee it. In the meantime, I do have other nerdy things to spend money on when I can't find video games. For one, I've mentioned in a previous video that I've gotten into Magic the Gathering lately, or got back into it. And I got a lot of positive comments on that. This is not going to be a regular thing, but figured might as well talk about some of the stuff I bought for it lately, because it is game related. First of all, I'm working on an angel deck, and they can be really hard to make in more than one way. There are a lot of really expensive angel cards. So I figured, if I'm going to spend all this money on one deck, I might as well get a good protector for it. So this is a leather case that holds up to 100 sleeved cards. It actually has a magnetic closing. It's really good condition. It's nice and thick. And in addition to that, I'm also going to share with you some of the expensive cards I've bought for this deck. And when I say expensive, I'm not exaggerating in any way. There we go. So I actually forget how much this one is. This is Etherswoon Cantonist. It's an artifact creature, human cleric. I think this was around $4, either $4 or $6. But it's a 2/2 creature for 2 mana, and each player who has played a non-artifact spell this turn can't play an additional non-artifact spell. Basically means you can only play one colored spell per turn, and that goes for all players. It's a good way to slow down other people's decks, especially when these kind of decks kind of take a while to build, so at least if I'm going to be slow, everyone else is going to be slow with me. Next up, I have 2 Restoration Angels. These are $7 each. And most creatures can only be played on your turn, but both these creatures have flash, which means they can be played at any time in the game. Flash means they can be played anytime an instant can be played. For 4 mana, you have a 3/4 with flying and flash. So you can bring it out during an enemy's combat phase, and so all of a sudden you have an extra blocker that they didn't know existed. But better yet, when Restoration Angel enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-angel creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. So you can use this to also protect any non-angel creature you have, and I have a lot of humans in this deck too. This card was a human. And what that does, if someone uses the spell to destroy that creature, all of a sudden you pull this out, you remove that from the game so that the destroy effect doesn't happen, and then it comes back into the field safe. Or you can do that to remove any enchantments you don't want on it, or counters you don't want on it, everything. It's pretty effective. Next card, I don't remember how much I paid for this one. It's called World Slayer. I'll get back to this one in a minute. Achroma Angel of Wrath. This is I think I remember this being a $15 card. It's expensive to play. It's like 8 mana, but it comes into play as a 6/6 with flying, first strike, which means it deals damage first in combat unless the other creature also has first strike. Vigilance, which means you don't have to tap it to attack. Trample, Haste, which means you can attack with it on the first turn, most creatures can't. Protection from black and protection from red, which means it cannot be damaged, targeted, or blocked by black or red anything. So yeah, that's a $15 card. Another $15 card is Archangel of Thune. For 5 mana, it comes out as a 3/4 with flying and lifelink. Lifelink means whenever it deals damage, you gain that much life. And whenever you gain life, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. So whenever you gain life, by any means, all your creatures become more powerful. At least all the creatures that are in play. There's some really nasty combinations in here that can give all my creatures like 4 1/1 counters in one turn. So that's a kind of a dangerous card. And then you have Elspeth, Knight Errant. This is a Planeswalker. I'm not even going to bother explaining a Planeswalker because this video is already more than 10 minutes long. So, Elspeth, Knight Errant, 2/1 abilities to make it stronger. Put a 1/1 white soldier token onto the battlefield so it comes in, brings a new creature into play. It can do that once a turn. Or target creature gets +3/+3 and gains flying until end of turn, making one creature more powerful and gain flying. And its -8 ability is you can emblem. Artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and lands you control are indestructible. So basically, almost all of your permanents are indestructible if you get to the -8 ability. And emblems, as far as I know, can't be removed at all, so that's permanents for the rest of the game. Avacyn, Archangel of Hope. This is a $30 card. And yes, I did actually pay $30 for this. See what I'm getting into by expensive? If I don't have games to spend money on, I will spend it on something else. Anyway, for 8 mana, you get an 8/8 with flying and vigilance. And basically, this other ability means all of your permanents are indestructible. None of your permanents can be destroyed, like destroy target creature, or if they get too much damage, they're destroyed. That doesn't work on any of your permanents. Now let's go back into World Slayer for a second. This is an artifact. And whenever equipped creature, like you attach this to a creature, right? Whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer. So if you attach this to, say, a creature with pro red or pro black, and you attack a player that only has red or black creatures, even if they have flying, they can't block it. If they can't prevent the damage somewhere else, then all of a sudden all the permanents are wiped out in the entire game. Except that all of my permanents are indestructible, so I keep all my permanents and every other player in the game loses all of theirs. Yeah, this deck's kind of evil. So, but that's not even the most expensive card I have in this deck. No, this one I actually paid $45 for, and from what I've heard, the price has actually gone up since. But for 4 mana, you have a 3/4 flying, and activated, this is the Linvala, Keeper of Silence. So for 4 mana you get a 3/4 flying, and activated abilities of creatures your opponents control can't be activated. So if you're playing against another deck where a lot of the creatures have activated abilities, that means you have to pay something to use those abilities. All of a sudden they can't use them anymore. This is a good way to absolutely cripple those decks. And for only 4 mana. See, I've been spending a lot of money on this deck. In its current form, it is undefeated. Like, no. It's beaten a deck of mine that was undefeated for quite a while until my one friend made a deck specifically to counter it. This deck is undefeated against both of my other decks that are so far mostly undefeated. I mean, it can be slow to get going, but I mean, it's a big deck. It's almost 100 cards. Like, it wouldn't take much for me to convert this into a commander deck as it is right now. But yeah, that's been a lot of fun, and I'm probably going to do a little bit more with it first. So, that's it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope I can start finding more games soon. It's been kind of ridiculous, but at the very least, it also means I'm able to save up money, and that means that when I can find more video games, I'll have more than enough to actually pick them up. And, yeah. See ya.